All right, we'll switch gears here a little bit to Major League Baseball. And that's the next item that we continue to watch because there seems to be the typical players' union, baseball ownership, bit of a rough edge to try to figure out how to get back. There are plans going back and forth, the Players Association in their next. Meantime, the coaches, the managers, GMs, they're waiting. And that includes Terry Francona, the manager of the Cleveland Indians, who joins us now. So you're back in Cleveland. You drove from Tucson to Cleveland, is that right? How long did that take, Terry?
I did, Mike. It took me It took me 3 days. It's a pretty good haul.
Anything that you saw, any little bit of Americana that you can share for those of us who've been in one state or one neighborhood for the last 8-9 weeks or so?
Part of the reason I wanted to drive was I wanted to stop. One of my best friends in life is Brad Mills, who's our bench coach, and he had to leave spring training because of a personal tragedy in his family, and I really wanted to stop and see them. So that was part of the reason I drove. So I kind of went out of the way a little bit and went through the Dallas area. Even as directionally challenged as I am, I know that's not on the way, but I really wanted to stop and see him and his family, and I'm glad I did.
That's nice. Good for you. We're glad that you made it safe and glad you're able to check in on a longtime friend. What are you hearing? What sense do you get here about baseball coming back in the next month or so?
Well, couple things. I do think Major League Baseball is doing everything in their power to be prepared to play if we get a window. And by window, I mean whether it's safe, whether we're not taken away from other people, things like that. The one thing I do wish is I understand there needs to be negotiations. I mean, it's a billion-dollar industry. I think I would prefer it if it was done in private and maybe not through the media as much, just out of respect for the 40 million people that are out of jobs right now. I think it would be a little better form to do it quietly. And again, I know it needs to happen. I just wish it wouldn't be so public.
You know the players so well. It was where you really got your roots in this game, and your players have almost universally loved playing for you. So you have great connection there. Do you understand their view when they say, hey, we already said we'll play for a prorated salary. Now you want to just go because the revenue is going to be reduced on a percentage of that. Do you understand where their hurdle is in this process right now?
I think I probably have an understanding of all the sides, because I was a player. I've been a coach. I'm a manager now. Unfortunately, in our industry, there's been a distrust probably from both sides for a long time. And every time there's a negotiation, it doesn't seem as amicable as the public would wish. The hope would be that when push comes to shove, that part of the game gets done, and then we can go about enjoying and celebrating the game of baseball. But it's not fun for any of us to live through this.
Yeah, no doubt. Can I ask you about the minor leagues before I get to major leagues? Because you lived your life for many years on the buses, the minor leagues. We saw you in The Last Dance, the Michael Jordan documentary, to remind people of that phase of your life. I feel like the restructuring of minor league baseball, the conversation about paying minor leaguers right now, it's going to be really hard for the prospects within your organization to have that normal year of preparation for the big leagues. Where do you think the biggest toll will be on the development of players as we go through this very strange season, if we have one at all?
Well, you just said it, and it's not. I mean, obviously, these kids aren't making very much money, which we all know. But the development, to lose a year of development, is probably what's keeping our organization and not just us, but everyone up at night trying to figure out, because you can't get that back. And when you're, age 18 to 22, the most important thing for these kids to be doing right now is playing, and that's what's being taken away. And it creates a ton of anxiety for all of us.
Let's talk about spring training 2.0. Let's say labor stuff gets settled and they say, Terry, here's the good news. We're going and we're going to play July 4th, whatever it is. You got 3 weeks or 4 weeks or so. What kind of things do you start doing right away to try to figure out how to get your guys ready again?
Well, we've already been doing that, Mike. We've been having Zoom calls with the players, with the organization, and we've been doing it for a while. We don't have we don't have a lot of answers yet, to be quite honest, because Major League Baseball doesn't have answers. What we're going to do is follow the guidelines and the protocols that are in place, and then try to make it as easy and as organized as possible for the players so they can get ready. And that's going to be quite a feat, because there's going to be, as you can imagine, a lot of guidelines in place, as there should be. But our main goal will be to facilitate it where our players can get ready the easiest way possible.
All right, have your pitchers that you've been in communication with been finding a way to play catch, to keep their arms some sort of direction of readiness, that when they get in for spring training 2.0, they'll be able to ramp up a little bit quicker than in the January, February ramp up to normal spring training?
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. And our pitching guys have assured me that we will not have enough hitters to keep our pitchers occupied. That's how ready they are. I think that was the one thing we really tried to keep an eye on during this time away from the game. Because if our pitchers fell behind, we were going to be playing catch up the entire time. And I really believe our pitchers have done an excellent job in keeping their arms stretched out to a point. We didn't want them to get too far out, but to a point where they can actually start to compete pretty quickly. And we're fortunate, again, we have good pitching coaches, but we have pitchers that are so diligent and so conscientious that we really think they're going to be ready.
It's funny. I just thought of this. I'm worrying about pitchers and their arms, because that's always the thing you worry about. There aren't many places for hitters to stay sharp during a pandemic. I mean, it may take a while for the guys with the bats to get their timing back.
It's a really good point. You know, with the pitchers, it's almost easier to check in on them. You know, they have a side day one day, they have a long toss one day. Everything's a schedule. Right. With our position players, it's been hit or miss. You know, do they have a facility? Do they have actually a live pitcher where they can actually go face? Pitchers don't want to face a hitter in a cage. So, you know, again, there's going to be some catch up to do with the position players. But I do think if we, like you said, a spring training 2.0, 3 weeks for position players would actually probably be okay. I think we always worry about the pitchers more than the position players.
Terry, what were you most excited about with this Indian season way back when things were normal, that may have you fired up about getting back on the field? And let's face it, if they're playing and we're counting what we're doing, you're going to try to win this whole thing. So what has you most excited about that?
You know, every year it doesn't take a lot to get me excited. I love the fact that when I stand up in front of our guys in the first meeting and I say, hey, if we do this the right way, we will have a chance to win. And I'm not sure every manager can actually say that. And I love going through challenges with guys that I respect and I care about. And that's how I feel about the guys in Cleveland, not just the players, but the entire group. And that's what kind of gets my juices going. And since we haven't had that, man, I miss it. So if we get back together, again, I know there's going to be challenges, but that's, I guess, part of why I feel good is because I think our guys will just view it as another challenge and attack it like they always do.
In a very interesting division with a bunch of teams in different places, a lot of teams with some young talent, the AL Central. We don't know what the divisions are going to look like. I was thinking along the old lines. We may be back in the 3 divisions and 10 teams. Who knows what it's going to look like when we get out there. Hey, lastly, the Jordan documentary brought back some of your time. One of my buddies, John Courtwright, was the pitcher who faced Michael Jordan his first at-bat, and he flew out to right field in that opening at-bat. Terry, what was that circus night like to be the guy who's putting Michael Jordan's name in a lineup card for the first time?
You know, the biggest thing I can say is it had all the makings of turning into a circus for a number of reasons, and it never did. Right. And I give Michael all the credit for that. What the biggest thing he did was he respected the game of baseball, and he respected the people in the game of baseball, and it made everything work. And for that, I mean, I'll always be grateful for how he handled it. From the very first day, he turned into a Birmingham Baron, and he didn't have to do that. And it was noticeable, and it was appreciated. And I guess it shouldn't be surprising, knowing how well he did in other arenas. It shouldn't be surprising that he was that type of guy.
It's absolutely who he is. Great to catch up with you. We appreciate the time. Glad you made the drive safe. We're able to check in on Millsy. And when you guys come through Detroit, hopefully we'll be able to say hello. Thanks for a few minutes, Terry.
Thanks, Mike. I hope so. Take care, man.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.